Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another Not Real Name reaction. Yeah, and this one is the rise and fall of Fnaf Special Delivery, or otherwise known as Fnaf AR. Yeah, so God, this one, Fnaf AR is a little bit of a contentious topic when it comes to Fnaf, because it was really kind of weird when you think about it. Well, because like for a while there, they were really pushing it, and then it just sort of stopped with almost all of like any sort of like content updates. And then it was just like that for a long while. And some of the more important parts of the lore that it gave, I think we only found were from like people and just like data mining it and stuff with that. But it just, I mean, I remember so many things like the chocolate Bonnies and all the different like costumes for like the animatronics you can get, which, I mean, actually, MatPat actually worked into his ultimate FNAF timeline video, involving like Mrs. Afton and all that, which I actually remember was so funny. But yeah, I mean, when is it closing down? I know it is closing down soon. Or wait, has it already closed down? Let me double check this. Yeah, March 14th, that's when it's shutting down officially. Okay. Which actually, I wonder, like, is it, like, what's going to happen to all the stuff on there exactly? Yeah, and like, thinking back to it, I remember, like, all the hype this game initially had, especially because they had, like, Markiplier in, like, the, both in like the trailer and stuff like that, and that was so much fun. Granted, I didn't play it that much. I played it a bit when the game first came out, but I didn't like the fact that you had to actually like be standing up and turning around to play it, because realistically, the only time I really play on my phone is when I'm trying to relax, like at night, right before I go to bed. So yeah, not really a good activity to do when you're trying to wind down. But yeah, it seems like Not At All is going to be going over the entire history of the game, and oh my god, look at all of the chapters! Oh god, yeah, so this video, it's almost an hour long. My reaction is going to be over an hour long, most likely, so you know what that means. Two-part reaction. So yeah, as always, original video is linked in the description, as well as the link to part 2. Corner video will be linking to both part 2 as well, and my like let's play video that I released of the day. And yes, of course, with all that out of the way, let's actually get this thing started then, shall we?
So after about 4 years of being around, FNAF AR Special Delivery, the Five Nights at Freddy's mobile game, is finally getting discontinued.
Yeah.
It has been taken down from the App Store, and soon its servers will be shut down as well. This shouldn't come as a huge surprise, though. The last proper update for the game was the Dark Circus update at the end of 2021. Since then, the game has been coasting with old events rotating and few updates. So the writing was on the wall. And in a few weeks, we will be at the final curtain call. So today, we will be talking about it, about FNAF Special Delivery, a mobile game with some new and creative mechanics, but if we're honest, it had problems on every front.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying the game is bad, but I am saying that there's a reason why there's such wide varying opinions about it. From how the game played, to how it was updated, to how it was monetized, FNAF AR had
very
issues
monetized
that constantly weighed it down. We'll be discussing them, the perks, the dying breath, the cut content, and the fallout. Let's start with what FNAF AR is. Now, this is normally when I would go into a long diatribe about dates leading up to the release and teasers and all of that, but I don't feel like doing that today. As far as I'm aware, FNAF AR received a few light teasers before its release in November of 2019, but nothing worth devoting a lot of time to. And considering that the last update was in November of 2021, that means it survived for exactly 2 years of consistent updates. I can't believe that. Good heavens. But let's jump right into the gameplay.
Yeah, you think, especially with the FNAF community, like, they could have, like, pumped out at least a couple more years of just, like, content and, like, even just, like, other costumes. Like, what exactly was the reason why they just stopped updating it?
As I said earlier, FNAF AR sports some unique mobile gameplay. Unlike a typical mobile game that's like a runner or a match 3 or something of the like,
Yeah,
FNAF
I have a lot of those.
confronting animatronics in an encounter that sounds like it would feel like Pokemon Go, but honestly doesn't. Animatronics slowly come to your location until one arrives and you're taken into a battle with them. Originally, there wasn't any warning or way to decline a battle, but later in the game it was updated so you would know who you're encountering before being thrown in, and can use tokens to basically send them off without losing your streak. The heads up was definitely beneficial, as with the harder characters, if you don't figure out who you're up against quickly, you could get bodied fast. So, how do you take on these animatronic threats? Well, there is a basic combat and evade system that receives some changes depending on the specific animatronic. I will go into these specific examples when I get to the animatronic section. Basic gameplay is this. An animatronic, let's say Freddy, arrives. They begin to walk around you but are cloaked and invisible. You need to use their footsteps or watch static...
Again, the very fact that they're invisible, it that's absolutely terrifying, like in the in-game universe. Oh god, what if like in one of the future games you have an animatronic that's actually invisible? Or wait, is it actually true invisibility, or is there just something weird going on with, like, say, like a sound disc or something? That might actually be it, now that I'm thinking about it.
To know where they are, as eventually they will charge. If they do not reveal themselves in a charge, it is a fake charge. If they do, it's a real charge and you must tase them or they will jump scare you. Getting a tase in used to defeat the animatronics outright, though later updates implemented a health bar system where you had to tase them more than once. This became an issue that I'll get to in a minute. There's also haywiring. Animatronics will appear and glitch out, and you will either have to look away with a mask, or look at them with a mask, or so on, depending on the character.
Yeah, this sounds all familiar.
You also have a flashlight that you can use to spot the static that signals where an animatronic is. It has a battery that recharges over time and that you can use spare batteries for, or buy batteries for, and some animatronics drain them faster. When you defeat animatronics, there's a chance you will collect their suits and CPU chips. And then in the workshop, you can somewhat build your animatronics, which you will then send out to attack other players. You can use parts that you collect in encounters and elsewhere to repair them, as, over time, the animatronics will wear down and start to look grungy and nasty.
Yeah,
Shove some screws into them. It'll fix them up fine.
Yeah, just like hit them with a hammer, whack them with a screwdriver, that's all they need to be right as rain once again.
But to power them, you'll need Remnant. Unlike the gooey metal substance in the mainline games, Remnant and Special Delivery are bright balls of light. They are basically souls without the metal. You're in your house with Remnant and Shadow Remnant balls, and you try to collect the light kind until Freddy breaks down your door and an encounter commences. Or at least, that's how it used to be. When the game came out, you could enter Remnant farming mode at any time, and if you were in this mode when an animatronic wandered in, you would be pushed directly into a battle. Apparently this was changed, and now the chance of popping into a Remnant collecting segment is random. You are trying to avoid the Shadow Remnant, and if you collect too much, it spawns an enemy to hunt you down. Shadow Bonnie. I'll save him for the animatronic section, though.
Or just keyboard smash the person.
When the game came out, there was a streak system where certain animatronics, the harder ones, would only appear when a certain streak was reached, such as Endo being the lowest, Chico Bonnie appearing a few levels in, Foxy being around 4 levels in, etc. I think I recall that this was tweaked later on,
Pixel Baby, I forgot that was an option.
Stayed about like that. So this gameplay sounds like a breath of fresh air, and unlike many mobile games, actually fits with the feel of the franchise. You're basically doing what you do in the mainline games, surviving killer animatronics, just with some changes to fit the new format. But unfortunately, this unique gameplay was sort of the first nail in the coffin for Fnaf AR. See, the problem is that this game doesn't exactly fit the mobile format. Well, what do I mean? Well, Fnaf AR isn't the type of mobile game that you can sit and play at like a doctor's office or waiting somewhere. You have to be up on your feet in a room that you can turn around in, so likely not in public, because unlike Pokemon Go, seeing someone spinning in circles is much less likely to get you to join in on catching a shiny Spinda.
Oh god, yeah. Well, I mean, that was literally the reason why I didn't play it. Because again, as I said, only real time I ever really go on my phone is like about like an hour before bed, just to help me wind down from the day. It's like that's not really good. That's the gameplay's not really conducive to that.
That doesn't mean it's unplayable. It just means the market's a little narrowed.
Yeah.
So how did the gameplay work? Well, before I answer that, let me quickly cover one more segment. Numerous crashes and hardware demands. Maybe because of the AR capabilities, being able
I never
to
had any problems with that when I played.
Watch them rush in, but the game was very taxing. I had a brand new iPhone when this game came out, and it was overheating it within only a few minutes of playing.
I mean, granted, I didn't play for that long, so maybe that might be the reason.
And it regularly crashed. I would get in usually 2 encounters and it would crash on the 3rd, or 1 and then crash on the 2nd if the first was too long. Here comes that issue about giving animatronics health bars. Never know when the game would crash. And this usually killed my streak. Sometimes the game would maybe not register the disconnection as a loss, but most of the time it did. So what I would have to do is play 1 or 2 encounters, then stop, turn my phone off, and come back hours later.
Or just put it in the refrigerator.
Needless to say, streaks never got that high for me. Now, before you assume it was just a me thing, I double-checked, and I certainly wasn't the only person with these issues.
Yeah.
Fnaf AR is a demanding game, even for a brand new phone, which is a problem because, again, most of your players are not going to have top-of-the-line phones to play with. Remember, only a small section of your player base is going to spend money on the game, so that can be a problem. There was also this issue that I think only I and a few rare others had, where even if you had connected an Apple and Facebook account, upon updating your progress would just disappear. I had gotten Circus Baby and lost her within a week because I disappeared after an update. And I did send a message to Illumix, and after a while they replied with a, well, we don't see you there. So yeah, that sucked. But it wouldn't have sucked
I would
so
imagine
much
that sucked.
if I could have just gotten to that streak again. But at that point, I was having a lot of trouble so much as logging in. So me losing Baby isn't as much of a skill issue as me not being able to get to the point of getting her back. The closest I got was actually battling Baby, and the game crashed and booted me. That was actually when I quit playing. Wonder why. But what do I think about the gameplay? Well, despite what I just said about the many problems with the game, I do like the gameplay. It's cool.
It certainly is. No, I mean,
like
it certainly is innovative.
Towards Fnaf, but it comes with some hiccups when it comes to performance that held it back.
Yeah.
And while I commend taking a step to making this game be more like a Five Nights at Freddy's game than, say, something easier like a Match 3 or a Dead by Daylight clone, I feel like it definitely needed more work. The execution was clunky, not just on the mechanic side, at least not in the beginning, but in the infrastructure. Now, before I get on to the animatronics, I should mention the photo booth mode. This seems like an odd aside, but this will be important going further. In this mode, you could take pictures of the animatronics you collected. The animations were a little limited, but you could do various angles and sizes, so it was pretty neat. This mode came in way too late, only being released in February of 2021, a year and few months after the game was released. And you had to purchase it with 4,000 tokens.
Wait, you
now,
did,
I haven't
really?
gotten to the monetization yet. I will after I tackle the animatronics. But even though this is current,
Wait, how much of the video is that? I have to ask. So animatronics, Endo, Freddy. Okay, that looks like it's gonna be pretty far into the video.
And when in game, it will take ages to pull that much together. For example, you can get 10 tokens per ad you watch, and note that you will eventually run out of ads for the day. Or as an event present, which has a chance of giving you 25. Again, I'll go into monetization later, but in this case, photo booth mode shouldn't have been locked behind anything. This is a major feature. It should just be out in the open. And as far as I'm aware, photo booth mode never went free, and that includes now with the end-of-life discounts. Maybe, I haven't double-checked. Which is a shame because really, that would have added a lot to Fnaf AR. This could have brought a lot of life into the game, and should have 100% been there on release. It would have also made collecting the various animatronics a little more valuable. Speaking of which, let's get into the animatronics.
I mean, that would have been, I mean, even just then with like some of the pictures that people had, I mean, that would have been like, I could very much see that like being like a contest or something that somebody did on like the Reddit. That would have been really fun to watch. Like I abandoned the game pretty early on, so I didn't hear about any of this.
Fnaf AR released with 7 animatronics, and throughout its lifetime, more were added at a somewhat snail-like crawl. In fact, one of the biggest complaints from the community was the lack of animatronics over skins later on in development. And as I will get into later, at least one teased animatronic we never got. But there's something way more interesting about that story. We'll save that for later. So let's go through
I saw a chapter called Cut Content, so I think we're going to be getting to that later on.
Fnaf AR introduced a slew of familiar faces, many with new voices, or voice lines at least, to accompany them. So let's go through them one at a time. And, to be noted, I'm not going to do an extreme deep dive into each of these characters, but I will give a pretty good summary so you know basically the feel of them.
Again, I did love, like, that was part of the thing. I loved when they added, like, voices to the animatronics, which, I mean, I can't agree kind of took something away from them, but it also did add something to them. The only one I never liked was Toy Bonnie, because it was, like, so high-pitched and sped up. I remember hearing somebody, they just took his audio and like, tuned it down to, like, a more normal register, and it sounded so much better.
First is Endo. He is the easiest animatronic to fight, the most bare bones of the bunch.
Literally.
He walks around and fake charges, like I explained in the gameplay section. He doesn't have any voice lines, but you will still become quite familiar with him every time your streak resets.
Yep.
Endo has 2 skins. Flamethrower Endo, self-explanatory, and Deep Sea Endo, who sort of looks like an anglerfish.
Yeah, I never saw that one.
It looks like someone wasn't ready for Freddy to come to the party.
Freddy is the next animatronic you may encounter, as he and his bandmates Chica and Bonnie are commonly encountered in the lower streaks. Freddy plays almost exactly like the Endo. I believe he's supposed to be harder, but in-game he kind of feels about the same. The significant change being that Freddy has an official voice now, and will chat with you while circling like a buzzard.
Now, all that fear there isn't helping either of us.
Freddy has 2 skins as well. Shamrock Freddy, a green Freddy decked out for St. Patrick's Day, and Firework Freddy, a cool shades-wearing Freddy ready for the 4th of July.
Freddy is ready.
Next is Chica, who plays a lot like Freddy and the Endo, except instead of voice lines you can only hear breathing, and she's slightly more difficult to pin down. Emphasis on slightly. She has 3 skins. Liberty Chica, looking like the Statue of Liberty.
With the
Sizzling
cupcake
Summer
on fire.
Chica, who is pretty much just Chica but on fire. And Red Riding Hood Chica, who is dressed like a grim Little Red Riding Hood but with a moldy cupcake hiding in her basket.
Ugh.
Then there's Bonnie, who is virtually the same as Chica, to possibly nobody's surprise. Where Bonnie does
that's
stand
always
out
been
is
sort of the
that
thing,
he
hasn't
got
it?
4 skins, twice as many as his bandmates, and some of the most of any animatronic. These were Chocolate Bonnie, the Chocolate Bunny, Melted Chocolate Bonnie but suffering, Easter Bonnie, the White Bunny,
But suffering.
and Blackheart Bonnie, the black glass rabbit with a pulsing red heart.
Which, I mean, I guess it does make sense that the one rabbit, I mean, like, all of these were, like, Easter themed, so, yeah, I guess that does make a lot of sense.
Next is Captain Foxy.
Shall we parley? Just kidding.
Foxy gets a slew of new
Just
voice
kidding.
lines, though his voice returns from Ultimate Custom Night, so unlike Freddy's, it isn't new. He is also the one classic bandmate who requires the highest streak and is arguably the hardest because of his speed. Though I say arguably because Foxy is still pretty easy to deal with, having the same basic mechanics as Freddy in the gang, just fake charging and haywiring a lot more. Foxy got 3 skins. Radioactive Foxy, a bright green Foxy who has been featured in a ton of merch. Big Bad Wolf Foxy, who actually has 2 forms in a wolf and a grandma form. And Ringleader Foxy, who will come back quite a bit later. Balloon Boy is the first toy animatronic brought into the game and the only one released at launch. While he plays very much like Chica and Bonnie, his small size means that you have to keep your eyes down or he might creep up on you. He doesn't have new voice lines per se, but he does have new noises.
Could you imagine if they gave Balloon Boy more voice lines besides just hello and laugh?
Balloon Boy Boy also has 3 skins in the form of the Mud-Clawed Swamp Balloon Boy, the Sharp-Toothed Icicle Gremlin Frostbite Balloon Boy, and Wannabe Aeronaut Jetpack Balloon Boy.
God, that was
Next up
so
is Circus
weird.
Baby, the first sister location animatronic and the only one upon release.
I wonder what will happen when I try to scoop you out of your carton.
Now, Circus Baby is the first animatronic that might give you significant trouble. It's hard to detect her, and she's a lot more aggressive, with her quick to jump scare if you don't shock her quickly or look away fast enough when she haywires, especially when she haywires. However, she doesn't have any additional
Sounds familiar.
mechanics. She does have some new voice lines, though.
Soon, you will be as broken as I am.
Baby has 2 skins, Broiler Baby, a burning baby with an oven belly, and Heartsick Baby, a purple-themed baby with cupid wings and a bow. Now we get
That's
to
kinda creepy.
Springtrap. Oh boy, Springtrap.
Original
If I may
Springtrap,
briefly
yeah.
break away from the unbiased explanation of the characters for a moment, Springtrap was always a pain in the neck. Fitting, I know. So Springtrap was the hardest animatronic upon the initial release. He moves fast, he's hard to track, and the most annoying part is this haywire mechanic where if his eyes glow white, you must stare at them until they turn red or look away, and if they're red, you have to look away immediately. Sounds simple, right? 2 problems. First of all, this is insanely quick, and it's not like pressing a button, you've got to swing your phone away. Plus, the color difference is sort of faint, especially when occasionally red and blue glitch bars appear on the screen. And
Oh,
the worst part,
God.
he takes forever to wear down.
I'm just, oh God, that sounds so annoying. Again, I didn't reach, when I played, I didn't go, like, any further than, like, Endo. Again, I didn't play it much at all, but, like, that sounds absolutely horrifying. If I had continued playing, I'm pretty sure I would have stopped at him if I had somehow gotten all the way up there.
At least it feels like it. He also has new lines.
I can taste the fear in your breath. Got you.
Yeah, self-explanatory. As fate would have it, Springtrap is tied with Bonnie for the most skins.
Again, what is it with this series and the blatant rabbit favoritism?
Poisonous tumor-laden toxic Springtrap, the currently on fire flaming Springtrap, the heavily decorated Equinox-themed The Curse, and Clown Springtrap, who does give me Dead by Daylight's vibes now that I look closer. But
Oh God, could you imagine a Dead by Daylight and Fnaf crossover?
virtually impossible to get because you need to get a high enough streak, which you simply might not get with the constant crashing and the coin flip of whether the game considers it a failure or not. That's the real curse. Not to mention the fact that in events you only get 1 or 2 free lures and 1 or 2 free chances, and either of those chances might not drop a skin. Yeah, it's a fun experience. Now we get into the weird case, Freddy Frostbear. By all accounts, Frostbear should be a skin, but for some reason he was released as his own character and then also got a skin, which is pretty much just Frostbear, but a little more frost. Black Ice Frostbear. The difference between Fazbear and Frostbear are pretty minimal, with the only thing being really that he can freeze the screen and you have to shake it to clear it up.
Which, thinking about it, actually, wait. This was released in 2019. When did Ultimate Custom Night come out again? Yeah, so Ultimate Custom Night came out in 2018. So, granted, I know games take a while to, develop, but, you'd think that would literally, that giant roster of characters, they would have added, more of the original characters instead of just a literal reskin of a character who's already in there.
But it was with the toy animatronics that the mechanics had a bit of a shake-up by involving more complicated methods. Starting with Toy Chica.
Playtime over.
She returns with the same voice she had in Ultimate Custom Night, plenty of new voice lines, and a revamped mechanic from Fnaf 2, with the introduction
The mask.
of the mask.
Yeah,
Basically,
there we are.
when she haywires and you look away, you also have to put on a mask. Seems simple enough, and with Toy Chica it is. It's just a matter of speed. Toy Chica had 2 skins. High Score Toy Chica, a blue virtual Toy Chica with a high score on her bib, who has a secondary form in a beakless Game Over Chica when confronted in-game, and Katrina Toy Chica, a Day of the Dead themed Toy Chica. I heard she got some pushback for cultural appropriation, but at the time I remember people just being upset because she was teased so hard that people were thinking it was a new animatronic and it just turned out to be a skin. Now on to Toy Bonnie.
This game of cat and person is delicious.
And
again, that was God. That voice is so annoying. Again, I remember seeing a video once where they pitched it down to a more normal sound, and that sounds so much better.
And yes, from that faux chipmunk chatter, you can hear that Toy Bonnie has finally found his voice. If a semi-obnoxious one. And if that wasn't obnoxious, wait until you hear his gimmick. Basically, the eye color thing from Springtrap, but also with the mask on the whole time.
Oh, really?
Eyes are white, stare all night. Eyes are red, you're dead. With the added mask mechanic, you would think
horrible.
Toy Bonnie would also be harder than Springtrap, but in my soul encounter with the guy, I found him a bit slower. Like the other Bonnies, Toy Bonnie is rocking a healthy skin count of 3, with System Error Toy Bonnie, a VR eye-sizzling red Toy Bonnie, Boulder Toy Bonnie, an eyeless statue bunny, and Sunken Toy Bonnie, a rough-looking waterlogged rabbit with almost pearlescent eyes.
Oh, okay,
but he's not the only Toy Bonnie, if we take a look at his shadowy reflection.
Shadow Bonnie, or the... Oh god, what is that guy's actual name? It's like XQ something or other. Yeah, it's like RWQ. Actually, if I put this into like a voice thing, what does that actually pronounce it as? Okay, what do you have to say for yourself, Ryan? How is this pronounced?
Rukosfasksk. Rukosfasksk.
Rukosfasksk. Okay, I can see why Not Real Name would not want to try to pronounce that.
It's as good a time as any to bring up the secret animatronic, the Shadow Bonnie. Request for fast fix. Well, technically, I think it would actually be pronounced more request fuss facts, but
I mean, I have audio. I have an audio example just a couple of seconds ago in the video.
But this is the one I prefer. Request for Fast Fix is a unique encounter as he cannot be collected in any way, suit, or CPU, and he won't be encountered under normal means. If you collect too much Dark Remnant in the Remnant collecting minigame, he will spawn, and he will start coming directly for you. You have to shine your light on him repeatedly until he disappears, and then track him down and do it again and again until he is finally defeated. What's interesting, and I did not know this, I found this out on the wiki when I was double-checking something, is that every time you encounter Shadow Bonnie, he will become more aggressive. And apparently after 10 goes at him, he will become virtually impossible to beat. Neat. Even though not a proper animatronic, I find this to be a cool addition, especially to a section of the game that is assumedly safe, being a penalty fight. But that's pretty much his contribution. Next is Toy Freddy.
Toy Freddy.
Would you like to hear one of my copyrighted jingles?
Sporting new voice lines and a slightly softer
I love the humor in this series.
He too has the mask mechanic, but when he haywires, you just have to look at him instead of looking away.
This is fun! Catch me if you can!
Toy Freddy has 3 skins. The purple VR mask-wearing VR Toy Freddy, who turns red with white-yellow eyes when he attacks. The tree-like woodland Toy Freddy.
Oh,
jeez. And the steampunk aeronaut Toy Freddy.
Jeez, what was with the steampunks?
Mangle is a special case. Well, aren't they always?
Yeah.
I must be made whole.
The deal with Mangle is that they don't play by the same charge and shock rules.
Okay, here we go.
Mangle will circle around and drop pieces that you have to collect. Then they will automatically be shocked once you have collected all of them. This was the biggest deviation in gameplay at the time. A significantly different style than, say, the addition of the mask mechanics, which, they're here too. If Mangle haywires, then you put on the mask and look away. They may also charge, in which you have to put on the mask because, again, you cannot tase them. Now, maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I recall that for a while it was super difficult to actually get a Mangle encounter. It might have been a bug or something.
Probably.
Anyway, Mangle has 2 skins, Telekinetic Magician Mangle and the Painted and Bloomed Serpent Mangle. Now on to 8-Bit Baby. So as you
that was, again, I remember when that one was initially announced. That was so weird. Why was that? Why was she like a separate thing?
recall, I said Freddy Frostbear is pretty much just a glorified skin. Well, 8-Bit Baby is pretty close to being that, but she's just different enough that I can understand why they made her a separate character. She plays a lot like normal Baby, just faster
Oh
and
god,
harder
that
to
picture.
see, and she doesn't have any skins. Starting to take back that whole reason to be their own separate animatronic thing. Ballora returns, and surprisingly enough, her mechanics are somewhat like Mangle's. To an extent. You've got 2 meters on the bottom of the screen, a noise meter and a distance meter. The one goes up the closer you're looking towards Ballora, and the other goes up when you move too much. Noise is basically movement. You've got to keep turning away from Ballora while moving slowly and steadily. Alas, you have these little Klingons climbing forth in the form of Ballora's babies, the mini-Renas.
Yeah.
You have to shake them off before they climb too high, but without making enough noise, or moving around too much, or looking at Ballora, and then you collect the tiny dolls once they fall off, like Mangle's pieces. Once you collect enough of them, Ballora is automatically shocked.
Okay.
Ballora has 2 skins.
Oh god, yeah,
Ice
the
Queen
clockwork
Arctic
one.
Ballora and Living Music Box Clockwork Ballora. Now, here's an interesting note. Ballora doesn't have any voice lines in the game, but the story behind why is rather peculiar. So,
well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I remember that was one of the things I remember hearing about, with the fact that like Ballora didn't have any lines, but like the voice actress who did her lines says she was like never. Like, I think she said she was never contacted or anything, even though she said she was, you know, willing to record new lines and stuff. It's weird. And that is it for now. If you want to see the second part of this reaction, links to it are in the description in the top corner of the video, as well as it should be, you know, appearing over my face any second now. I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.